right, good morning, everybody. It is Kelby, joined by Drew and Tim. How you guys doing today?
Good morning, Kelby.
Good, fantastic. The coffee was a little strong this morning.
Yeah? You alive?
Yeah, we're feeling good.
Good.
Feeling good. We got a good weekend coming up. Should be fun.
I feel like running around this table right now.
Yeah.
Can't really get around it, but we got a good weekend planned actually. We have our sister, your daughter's birthday, and going to Columbus to COSI and hang out, and
Yeah, it'll be good.
yeah, that'll be fun.
Cool. Well, we are here for the Learn from Tim episode, and we actually have a question today that was submitted on Facebook. So it was submitted by Erica, and the question is, how is inflation affecting the building supply market? I don't know if you want to start on that. I mean, I assume I know the answer, but if you want to expand on it.
Everyone's running into it, no matter if you're a contractor or someone going and building something, anything, purchasing anything, food from any kind of product. But it's risen, and it's different than what it was a few years ago. It's I think the cost is a hard hit. But I think what's really even people don't realize, it takes longer to get, especially in the construction world, that you can normally get a few things in a couple of weeks when you order it. Now you're waiting 6 to 12 weeks. So it really has put a kibosh on getting things sooner and hitting the schedules. But then you got to plan ahead. So
how does that work? Let's just put it in more simple terms. Someone who wants to build a house and they have the expectation that it's going to be this price that it was months ago, but now it's not. How do you deal with that? How do you navigate around that?
Well, since it's been 3 years since we've went through it, a lot of people were getting a little bit adjusted to the price. Yeah. When it first happened, it was a shock. Armcorp was part of the Lots for Soldiers home. And when COVID hit, the home was going up. We gave the everyone, we priced it out, and then everyone came back 30 to 40% higher on materials. So it kind of tells you how high the materials went, and it kind of made that $225,000 home into a $350,000 home, only because the materials have went up. So the adjustment now is, a lot of people do know what the cost is, and it's there. Is it going down? We see it going down a little bit. But I don't think it'll ever go down to where it was 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so now you just adjust your estimates, and people are now, I don't know if they're used to it, because you still hear, hey, back 3 years ago, it wouldn't have been this much.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we appreciate you answering that. Erica, we appreciate you asking that question. We encourage everybody just to ask questions to be answered on here, and we'll get them answered.
Yeah, we're on every social media, so don't feel afraid to ask any comments or ask any questions, share any comments or any of your stories about the inflation affecting you, or anything that you'd like to share. We could bring it up in this podcast.
Definitely. All right, well, let's jump into the episode. Today is the topic is initial culture desired for Armcorp. When you first started Armcorp, we're going through I can't find the word, a revamp of the culture right now, an enhancement, I guess you could call it. It's nothing negative. The culture wasn't bad. It's just we want to separate ourselves from everybody else out there. So I guess, what was the initial desire for the culture with Armcorp? What was it that you wanted to install? Because every business owner, I mean, even myself, when I think about it, if I were to go do this as a company, if I were to go start my own business, this is how I would want this. This is how I would be. So initially, what was that for you?
Well, back when I started, it wasn't culture. Culture wasn't big. Look back 10 years, 14 years or whatever, but culture wasn't to me, wasn't talked about as much as it is now. So it was a core value. What was the core value of the company? So I thought there had to be something that we needed to do. And reading books about leadership and self-improvement books that you can learn from, once you read one and you read 10, you'll start picking up things that someone else already wrote about. It's in there. You can take a piece of it. So we thought we'd hire an outside source type to have that core value for Armcorp, to help people you felt that could be better. So that's what core values then. So that's how I.
So when you brought this third party in, what did he ask questions, or did you just say, hey, we need core values?
Well, it stemmed off the book Good to Great, Jim Collins that wrote that from good to go to great, and they had set up this program in the book, and this guy, what he did was take some of that good to great and go to companies to create a value in your company. So what one of the sessions is that we had to pick values, core values. So there was 20 core values that we wrote down, and there was 4 of us in this group and within the company. None of the field guys were a part of it. And I thought, wow, we're going to really come up with something here for Armcorp, and we were going to have some good core values. So we struck the line between all of them, and we had to pick the top 5. And then the top 5, we had to put a sentence to it or a meaning to it, just like a dictionary. What does this feel? How are you explaining it? So he would guide us to that. So we're getting this not preached, but taught. Here's your value, and this is what it's about. And that's that third party, and that's what he did for us.
If you could do it differently, would you? Because I don't like to say, do you regret it? But if you did it differently, would you involve the field guys?
Yeah.
Why?
I would do everything completely differently. It was good that he came in and taught us a lot, but it got to a point the second month of this training that we were more focused on trying to create a good value in the company and forgot about what we do. Mm-hmm. And that forgot what we do wasn't part of the people out in the field that are doing. Mm-hmm. It was just people inside the office picking words that we all felt that everyone should learn. And it wasn't from them. Yeah. And I think now I look back, it's a lesson. It's a huge lesson because I feel that people have to speak what their value is because that's their value, and that means it's creating a culture. Mm-hmm. And that what I want is my value of me is just to be humble and to be people first. And when you go to people first, they create this core value.
100%.
Do you think that you didn't include the field people back then because it's kind of a stigma between office and field people that were like, oh, they're out there doing their job. We're in here to, incorporate the business and we'll include them, but like not them being here. So I feel like we've talked about this before, our culture has been a little off because we don't really include the field people. Like it just feels like there's a divide in the construction industry. So do you feel like back then when you started these core values, do you think it was just like a pushover breeze? Like, oh, they don't really need to be involved in this. Like they'll just follow what we're going to do.
Yeah. We were writing a book and we expected them to understand the book.
Yeah.
And they had no part of any chapter or any sentence in that book. Mm-hmm. And I look back and I'm saying I made excuses that they don't have time to come in.
Yeah.
They're out there making the company money, and that's all it was worried. And to me, that's greed. So I had to change the perspective in myself first and understand that what makes a company are the people in the company. Yep. It's not Absolutely. Me. It's not the owner. It's leadership and allowing people to speak.
Mm-hmm. I think changing the culture in a construction company is probably one of the hardest industries to change the culture in. Oh yeah, because you have the old timers who don't want to change their views and want to push through their work, get their paycheck, and go home. And I think what separates us from the big dogs is that all of our employees are not just a number; they're a person that is heard.
Mm-hmm. What happens is that the older generation don't they don't get the respect. And when the people were in the field and then the people in the office was educational type. And I think back in the day was that if construction people were out there working hard with their hands, were the people different than what the people had to study in the book? You know, you think about engineers and architects, they go to college, they pay for all that, and they learn how to design the buildings. And then you have the people out in the field that don't get the respect of what really becomes the creation.
Yeah, that's such a great point, because now my mind is going crazy right now, because there is a disconnect. I mean, we work with our minds in the office, like you said. They work with their hands and do what we've tried to put together and manage for them. You said that you mentioned the architect. They put this on drawings, but how many times have we ran into it that it was wrong, or we've had discovered these new hurdles that we have to deal with? Well, did you go out to the field? Did you do the takeoffs per se? Did you bring a superintendent with you that can identify some of these things? Or are you just going from the book? Are you just going off of what you've seen? So there's that disconnect between the blue collar is the field guys. Everybody thinks you're in a construction company that's blue collar. That's not. Office staff, you are office staff. You're looked at as corporate business, like that's it. The field guys are those blue collar guys. They're out there trying to get this work done. They're the ones that do the grunt work. They're the ones that do the hard work. I mean, we work hard in the office. We get stressed in the office and have to get over these hurdles that the blue collar guys don't want to deal with. We also don't want to deal with what the blue collar guys have to. But there's got to be, we just talked about it, effective communication. You have to do that. You have to bridge that by bringing them both together and involving them in a process like sticking to core values. And I wanted to get to that. I have this question: how has it changed? Well, from my perspective, I did just that. I came to you with 3 core values at the beginning, came up with myself. I didn't involve anybody. And I started thinking, it's probably God saying, hey, don't do that. You need to talk to every single employee in this company. And I will admit, I did not talk to every single employee. I talked to about 50%, and I saw trends. It was all the same. I didn't discredit all the other employees. I do plan to get with these employees, but there was trends of roughly 12 to 15 things, and we chiseled that down to 10 core values that we know these were created by our people, for the people outside of this company, for the people inside this company. This is stuff that can be taken into life in every aspect of life, and you feel it now. It's because they know that they created these. They know that they said, this is what I see, what I want. So that's where it's more powerful. And that's, I guess, where I could ask you, how have you seen it changed as that guy that has the 40,000 foot view?
Well, it's a pretty cool concept, really. So remember I brought up about that empty board and a painter? Mm-hmm. Well, think about the guy that invents and creates the chemistry on the paint. The guy probably doesn't know how to paint, but he can create and design chemistry-wise the paint that becomes blue. That blue is in a container. He designed it. Now you have a field guy, a painter, that can actually take that brush and make that blue look like whatever he wants it to. So can you imagine if you took the guy that created that paint and take the guy that can take the paint and create his picture and put them together and they communicate, how much further they could be?
Yeah.
So in construction, if you take an estimator and have him go out there with a supervisor or a carpenter or a laborer, and they communicate together, because the talent that the supervisor has is a different talent than the estimator has. That estimator probably doesn't know how to put together, and our estimators do, but there's estimators out there that do that. Mm-hmm. But they've had the experience. So if you put them two together, that creation of communication, they understand each other.
It goes back to for the paint, it's the canvas and the paint. If the paint doesn't stay on the canvas, that architect or that chemist or whatever has said, this paint, you got to use this paint and use that canvas. Well, the field guy, the artist, the painter is going to do that, and it said it's not working. That's kind of a great example. So, for example, in construction, if we say, what's a construction example of a field guy says this door, we've recently have had issues with doors. For a specific metal door, you have to cut out the frame a little bit back further because of how a metal door is put in. If an architect doesn't even see that, says, oh, you just got to cut this much out because you're putting a door in there. Here's the effective communication. What kind of door? How big is the door? That's where you go out to that field with that field guy, and they will be able to explain to you the experience of how they're going to put this in, so we don't have to go down the road and have this hurdle now and stop the job. So
that's about people reading a book, getting what their degree was all about, drawing it, and not understanding the concept, how it gets put together in the field.
Truth.
And so when the talents of the person that knows how to put it in the field and the talents that the person created it, if you communicate with them very well together, that's dangerous. And that is how that needs to happen. Mm-hmm. And that's how a construction company needs to work, because an estimator can put 2 hours to install a door with hardware and everything else. But that superintendent goes, he only gave me 2 hours. Instead of complaining, that's where our culture has changed. They're calling them up, or our estimator is taking the initiative to go out in the field and do it himself to prove to them that he can do it within that time. So that's the culture I see here.
Yeah.
That's not where it was before. I could probably not remember the 5 that we came up with, because the meeting is that you had 4 people come up with these core values that didn't mean anything but words. And if you don't learn words, the word could have been BS. Mm-hmm. And then you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So our culture that's happening now, we're seeing it. Mm-hmm. You know, we've heard in our meeting this morning about, well, there's 5 people that I know guarantee they are all for the company. But then when you started listening to everyone, man, did you just gain 20 more? But back then, maybe 2. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge difference.
Yeah, that's great. So, yeah, where do you see the future of Armcorp with this installed culture?
It's going to be a different concept. Culture is a big word now. And I don't even know if we have to even bring that up. It's more of, where I see it is that it's an automatic.
Yeah, culture's just there. It's what's created. It's that energy that's presented within an organization.
Because once you walk into something, it's more of a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And when you feel it, then that's what you feel. And when everyone has a good feeling, they know they're supported, they have each other's back, then culture doesn't have to be brought up anymore. Culture is starting something. Mm-hmm. Culture could be anything. Culture could be a bad culture, a good culture, a sloppy culture. We started culture as a word, as a good feeling.
Yeah.
Support.
Yeah.
And, when you hear a 78-year-old tell you something that was back when he was working, he said it's support.
Yeah.
If people would listen to some of the people that really don't talk much, you're getting good, wise people.
Yeah. Culture is like the word diet.
Yeah.
Diet is what you eat.
Yeah.
Period. You get all these fancy diets. If you're eating candy and pop and soda every day and chips, you're not going to feel too good. But if you're eating whole foods, greens, vegetables, fruits, you're going to feel pretty good. Think about that. Culture's that way. Culture, it is what it is. Diet is what it is. It's just which way you're going to take it. I don't know. It's a cool concept.
You look at it, the first 3 letters in diet is die. The first 4 letters in culture is cult. What do? You create what you feel is good.
Yeah.
And that's the feeling.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good point. Yeah, you can go against those odds and just take it the other way, because culture is that feeling you get when you walk in a house, the feeling you get when you walk in an organizations. What are they putting into that? What are you putting into your diet is going to show you I mean, what you feel in an organization is going to show you. You could completely see what the difference is versus someone who has a high positive culture versus a negative low energy culture. You can see people walking around. You can tell what they eat in their diet, and you can see someone who is fit and in great shape. You can already tell what they do with their diet. So it is what it is.
You know, our staff meeting this morning is that it started going down. And when you go down, you know there's only way up. You have to start with the down to get where you need to go up. And it was kind of interesting. It was a monotone discussion about what we had and who we are and where we're changing. But there were people talking that never talk in the staff meeting. Once you start going up, and that's what made that go up, was people that never talked before bring up their feelings. Mm-hmm. And the only way to bring out their feelings is talk about something that means to them. They're never going to take, anyone got anything to say? Well, first, they're things they're going to say. They're nothing.
You know what that is? That's getting down to their level.
That's right.
You have that line. People want to avoid going below that line. People want to stay positive. People want to be optimistic. They want to just the glass full. They don't want that. People want to avoid going down into that dark, down into that negative. You're leaving people behind down there. You have to go down there. One of the biggest things I've learned in life with, I think is Dale Carnegie, is people like to talk about themselves. But the only way for them to get them to talk about themselves is to get down to their level. Or they're going to stay there and you're going to leave them behind.
You don't want people to feel negative. You don't want people to feel sad. They're going to start reaching. Just like if someone don't know how to swim and you throw them out in the water, they're going to try to get up above that water as much as possible. And so our discussion, our staff meeting this morning started going down, just a passive meeting of what was going on because they heard it, and then he started speaking. And when they started speaking, everyone started to hear, and then people started going, crap.
I did notice that.
You got to dive. And that was the first thing I said. You're in the water, in the waves.
Uncomfortable.
You're uncomfortable. But you know what's so peaceful is you have to start going down, dive down, because it starts bringing that peace and understanding deep inside you. What does it mean? Mm-hmm. And then you start swimming up and you go, okay, I'm starting to feel good. I can handle that. I can get back up there. Yeah. And that's what happened this morning.
Yeah.
It was a great meeting.
It really was, and I hope people see that because I definitely, you mentioned that now, I see that because, I mean, the only way to get out of something is face adversity.
Yep.
If you just stay stagnant, you're never going to learn about that situation. If you keep avoiding that situation, if you keep avoiding those thoughts and feelings about some darkness you have in your past and you don't take it head on, you're screwed. Until you fight through that and experience those feelings, that's where you grow. That's where you just move forward.
So. Yeah. I guess I had this on my mind for a minute. I see a lot of companies where they put core values every spot in their office building, on their trucks, on their shirts like we did. But it's just like that diet. They don't have the discipline. They put on a good face, but there's no culture. They say they have culture, but oh yeah, our estimators don't talk to our PMs. That's just not how they work. But we have culture. It's posted right on our bathroom when you walk in. It's on our shirt. Do you remember what that is? No, I don't. I can't think of it right now. Let me look at it. That's not culture. I think culture is when you have those bridges and you have those connections with estimators and PMs. Like they used to get frustrated. Hey, you missed something on this job. Oh, okay. Well, let's not talk about it. But we have culture. It's on our shirt. It's on our truck. It's on our bathroom. It's in every single room in our office. We have it. It's posted up there. We put on a good face, but hey, we just lost $100,000. But sure, our culture is great. It's like that diet. Like if you're on a diet, hey, I'm on a diet, but I just ate 5 cookies. But I'll start Monday. Our culture will start Monday. It's not about the face value. It's about what's inside, and it's about that estimator talking to that laborer. Hey, what can I make easier for you? Mm-hmm. How can I make it easier? What am I missing? How can we get our job tighter? How can we make more money for you and your family? How can I make your job easier and not making you sweat on every single job? trying to make that 2-hour door job. How can I make that? What am I missing?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
Well, you brought up a good point. When an estimator does something like that, he will absolutely go to the laborer or the superintendent and talk to him. Hey, I made this miss. Can you help me out?
For sure.
Then that tells you that estimator is going to go out there and help them as much as possible. And the extensive communication is what it is. You know, people came up with culture, people came up with that, but the communication, personally, everyone's so stuck on cell phones, emails, Spark, everything. But the communication has to be face-to-face, voice-to-voice, and understand you cannot hear the feeling by an email. You can't. And that's what I seen today in our horseshoe of our staff meeting.
Yeah.
I seen it, I heard the feeling, and that's when I said, okay, that gave me the answer to what we're going to talk about today, because these questions are huge. These questions and statements that we have here are phenomenal, because I was able to answer them by just hearing what everyone else was doing.
And it wasn't your feeling. It wasn't your way.
Yeah.
You can't do it alone.
No, it's that plan. When leaders allow people to do their plan, and if it matches close to what the leader feels, let them do it.
Yeah.
I think what culture means to me is not just at Armcorp, but for any company, is that I would want that person that asks one of our employees, hey, give me an example of your culture. Like, what do you like? Is that all that's on your shirt? And I want them to be able to say, yeah, I just called my estimator the other day, or my project manager talks to my estimator, or my finance lady called me the other day and gave me advice. Like, that is what I want them to say. Like, hey, it's not just a t-shirt. I have examples. I got 100 examples. I have my owner's cell phone number. I think one of our superintendents just said that the other day. He's like,
but he is your dad, so you should have.
Well, I was saying our superintendent said he had his owner's.
I just want you to know I deleted your phone.
Yeah, well, I don't believe I don't believe it. He's saying that, you work out with the guys in the field, like, hey, do you have your owner's email? He's like, no, I would never text my owner. I never email my owner.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Brian said, yeah, I got my owner's phone number.
Yeah.
Like, that's super cool. That's culture.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
This was awesome.
This was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect, but no, leave it to open discussion and we'll nail it, because there's different things that come up. It's just like out in a job. There's going to be different things that come up. You just got to roll with it. So, yeah, I appreciate your time. I think that's about it, unless you guys have something else.
No, you got any questions or comments, please leave them on our social media.
We need the engagement so we can help. We can help people win. We can help people grow. That's our point here. It's not for us. This is not for us. This is for you. So help us out.
Yeah, we're not competing against anyone. All we're trying to do is help, and no matter what.
For sure, because we want to see everybody win.
Yep.
That's it.
Really do.
All right, everybody have a great day.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.